Welcome, true crime lovers. This is Underage and Full of Rage.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Underage and Full of Rage, the podcast where the convicted are minors and their crimes are anything but. I am your host, Becky, and with me, as always, is my co host, Adam.
Hello.
Don't forget to speak up.
Speak up.
Okay, thank you. So, before we start this story, I'm probably going to botch the name of the place it takes place in. I'm just getting up ahead of it. I don't want to hear about it, so I'm just putting it out there. And with that, today's story brings us to March 30th of 2023 in Ocklawaha, Florida, which is located in Marion County with an estimated population of 1,770 people. It is unincorporated and apparently got its name from the Ocklawaha River. It is located just southeast of Ocala and is considered to be a part of Ocala's metropolitan area. So you can gauge where that is, right?
I'm totally drawing a blank on where Ocala is.
Well, that's not helpful to anybody.
No, it's not. Where's on the map? I'm trying to
I
figure.
want to say, isn't Ocala east? Like more on the eastern side?
Okay.
Like not towards
Okay.
the Gulf?
Okay. So the Atlantic side?
Yeah, right? Isn't that where
That's why
Ocala
I'm
is?
asking.
It's bad because I have my aunt lives in Ocala. When I looked at the map, because I looked at it on a map, I'm pretty sure that's where it was.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Whatever works. It's Florida.
I'm not good at geography.
I know it's in Florida, so.
Yeah. Like, I'm not good at geography at all. In geography, that doesn't even make sense. It's been a long week.
This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're starting out great. All right. So, according to TripAdvisor, though, the most popular things to do there are these clear kayak or paddleboard adventures, where I thought of you. You essentially just float over manatees.
Yeah, and you look down and you see them?
Yeah, it's so freaking cool.
I would totally do that.
And there's also the Ma
Little sea
Barker
cows.
house. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Ma Barker or the house?
No.
Okay.
I thought you said Bob Barker.
No, Ma Barker. M-A.
No, I have not.
Okay, so
Excuse me.
You good there? I mildly went down a rabbit hole reading about this chick, and apparently she was this like huge gangster back in the day. She was born in 1872 as Arizona Donnie Barker and also went by aliases Arizona Donnie Clark and Kate Barker. Originally from Springfield, Missouri. Sorry, there's a bunch of Springfield, Missouri. Ma Barker became known for being the matriarch of an outlaw gang of brothers and allies who engaged in all sorts of shit. So I thought of that. I never watched it, but that show that was on like USA with that blonde chick, and she's got like her sons, and they're all like into like criminal activities.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I can't remember the name of it. I know what you're talking about.
I never saw it, but I saw the commercials. Obviously, that's exactly what I thought of. And so they were involved in kidnapping, post office, payroll, and bank robberies, which I don't understand what payroll robberies mean, but this was
like robbing payroll companies or something.
I don't know.
When is this? This is like she's way back in the day.
Yeah,
right?
This happened during the 1920s and 30s. And I even wrote, like, what is payroll robbery?
Did payroll, I don't know, maybe payroll companies back in the day, maybe they did things differently. Maybe it was like cash or like certificates, like gold. And,
ADP or whatever. Aren't they a payroll company?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I don't know.
Because to me, I just think of like...
Or maybe they just committed a bunch of fraud and it was called something different back in the day.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because when I thought of, when I think of payroll, I just think of like corporations
doing hours and shit.
Yeah, so I'm like, what does that mean? I don't get what that means, unless they're just.
That's the only things I could think of.
Is a payroll robbery? You're intercepting the checks as they're being shipped to the businesses to be handed out.
It's always possible.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what any of that means, but they were involved in it regardless. So, moving on. She had 4 sons who, like Ma, all died violently. So there was 33-year-old Herman Bloody Barkers who died when he was cornered by Kansas police and ended up just shooting himself right there on the spot. Then there was 40-year-old Arthur Doc Barker who was killed during an attempted escape from Alcatraz. Never hear about him.
Badass. Yeah. That's crazy.
And I believe this one, the officers did kill him. It wasn't the water. Then we have 33-year-old Fred, who was killed at the same time as Ma after they both got into a gun battle with the FBI at a Florida resort. She was 63 at the time, which I'm curious to know which resort they were at.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Lloyd, who, after spending 25 years in Leavenworth, was murdered by his wife 2 years after being released at the age of 53. So pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy story.
You do all that time in federal fucking prison and then your wife kills you? That sucks.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, wow, that's...
But I guess at least you died on the outside, right?
I don't know. Does that make it better? I don't think that makes it... I don't think that makes a difference.
I don't think it... No.
I don't think it makes a difference.
Yeah, I don't think it really does.
Especially because you survived 25 years in prison, which, I mean, Leavenworth back then was probably horrible. I could only imagine what it was like. And then to come out and your wife kills you. So I feel like that's like, out of all the people, you get murdered by your wife.
What did you do to piss her off to the point that she killed you?
I wonder. Yeah, I was wondering what the dynamic was that she turned around and murdered him. Maybe it was self-defense. You never know.
That's true.
Probably. I'm like, probably. But if you are in like the Ocklawaha, what did I say? Ocklawaha? I don't remember. I'm going to go with Ocklawaha area. It it looks like you can do a tour of her house, which I think is pretty cool. And if like you're into that sort of thing, like it's kind of just this giant house on this big patch of grass, and then you can they give tours and you just walk around and it's her house. It's crazy. I think there's actually one picture. It looks like there's like bullet holes or something in the walls.
That's pretty cool.
And yeah, and there's just like pictures of like her like her crimes and stuff, her death, I want to say there was a picture of, and then there's just like family photos and things. It's like, it's pretty crazy.
It's like a gangster museum.
Yeah, kind of. So now I guess we can that was a total sidetrack, but that was the rabbit hole I went down. So I felt like should mention it. And now back to today's story that does not involve any gangsters per se, but rather a group of 16s who went out to commit some robberies when the night took an extremely dark turn, and 3 of the 6 would be found murdered. So shortly after 10:50 p.m. on March 30th, 2023, the Marion County Police Department received a call about an injured female in the Forest Lakes Park neighborhood. When police arrived to the scene, they discovered 16-year-old Layla Silvernail lying by a dumpster with a gunshot wound. Okay. So she was shot in the head, and she is transported to the hospital where she later dies. While the cops are investigating this murder around 7:55 a.m. the following day, so March 31st, the body of a young man is now discovered near Southeast 94th Street and Southeast 188th Court in Ocklawaha. In Ocklawaha, and he too was shot in his head. The young man would soon be identified as 17-year-old Michael Houdeau Jr. So by April 1st, when the body of a young girl who would later be identified as 16-year-old Camille Quarles, I want to say is how you pronounce her last name, is found in the trunk of a car partially submerged near Maluka Loop and Maluka Loop Trace, it is safe to say that Marion County is on high alert. Rumors start to swirl, one of which being that this was the act of a serial killer, but police quickly put those rumors to rest as evidence found at the sites, in addition to witnesses coming forward, allowing them to hone in on promising suspects who may have been responsible for the deaths of these 3 teenagers. I don't know if that sentence made sense as I'm reading it. Did you get that?
I think so.
Okay. This is what happens when you do too much at once. So, anyway, the first two suspects were identified when a witness came forward and said she was friends with both Layla and Camille. According to this witness, the two girls had been staying with her at her residence for about 2 months, and on the night of this incident, all three of them were driving around in Layla's car. At some point, they encountered 12-year-old Chris Atkins and 17-year-old Rob Robinson, which is just an unfortunate name. I don't know why people do that.
Yeah, I don't get that. I never understood that.
Why? Why would you do that to your child?
Like, come on. Like, it just never made sense to me.
So the two were at Rob's quote-unquote trap house, but eventually all of them left and went to Rob's actual house that was nearby instead, because the trap house apparently didn't have any AC, which no AC in Florida I think should be illegal.
It's a trap house.
Yeah, which isn't that just like where people go
why would
to do
there be
like
AC?
drugs and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's just like a house. A lot of the times too, it's just like a stash house.
Well, you
too. Like, so.
Yeah, but if you're gonna be like there doing business, don't you want to be cool?
I guess maybe.
It's Florida. That's sweltering. Could you? Oh,
in the summertime.
Exactly.
What was that meme I saw? It's like sitting inside of a hot fart.
Oh God, sounds awful. So the witness then stated that the two girls dropped her off back at home and were heading back to go pick up Chris and Rob. So from here, the police knew who their two main suspects were, and after bringing both boys in for questioning, the two ended up providing information that also ended up incriminating a third boy, 16-year-old Taj Bruton. Upon discovering this, the police began searching for the third suspect while the other two remain in custody. So an affidavit states that the final location of one of the victims' phones, the document doesn't specify, but it says that the phone was at redacted hours. So a lot of the document is redacted. So, it's going to be a little weird to read, but it says that the phone at redacted hours, was near the location of where Layla's car was discovered on April 1st. And in reviewing the phone, numerous pictures were discovered that were created between the dates of March 14th and March 15th. That included both Rob and Chris with one of the victims. The name is redacted, and in these pictures, there is also a fourth individual that was not able to be identified at the time of the affidavit. It also states that there was one photo that had been taken on the 15th, and it was of Rob and Chris holding handguns and pointing them at the camera. So it's the cliche photos, that kids do when they think they're being hard.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm a tough guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like thug life, like whatever. So another image, also from the 15th, now has four individuals, one being one of the victims. Again, it didn't specify. And it was one of the victims, Rob, Chris, and then an unidentified individual with 2 guns, 3 magazines, and a clear plastic bag with an assortment of guns and ammunition in it. So the activity on this phone indicated to investigators that the 3 victims were not strangers to their assailants, but rather all of them knew each other, and that all of them were willfully hanging out the night this took place. So from the investigators' perspective, they were now trying to understand what could cause these friends to turn on their other 3 friends. And now the sheriff's department is out there that, oh my God, sorry. And now the sheriff's department what did I write? I'm sorry. Okay. So it's out there that the 3 suspects had affiliations. I'm sorry, I'm very tired.
All good. I'm getting lost here and there.
That the 3 suspects had affiliations with gangs, but at the same time, they couldn't find any type of rivalry or gang-related issues that led up to the murders of Layla, Camille, and Michael. So for me, I feel like, why even mention the gang-related thing?
There's no point.
Right?
Unless just to make them sound like, attacking their character or whatever.
Yeah, like an unnecessary dig.
Other than that, there's no reason to mention. I don't think there's any reason to mention it.
Yeah, it's just like a total unnecessary dig.
There's no
point.
If it's not gang related, who cares?
Yeah, like why even mention that they're your part? Okay, cool. I don't get that either. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but siphoning through the affidavit, it was really hard because it's multiple pages and chunks are redacted that it actually you get to a point that I think it was like the last like 4 or 5 pages of the affidavit were just completely redacted. So
that's ridiculous.
So yeah, like so I'm literally trying to piece together based off of like a few words within a sentence. So that's why it gets like it
gets muddy.
Yeah, so with the photos and then who's with who, but this one's not identified at that time, but then like I couldn't find anything that said that they were ever identified. So that's why it was like a little it didn't really make like it made sense, but it's a little jumbly at the same time. So I apologize for that. I tried my best. So they also went in hard, and I felt like they were pointing the finger a lot at the school system and how the schools need to do better and hold their students accountable. And I just can't get on board with this. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not the school's responsibility to make sure someone else's kid isn't an asshole. That's not the school's.
Sounds like the job of a parent.
Yeah, and they're just like a lot. I was reading handfuls of articles and then like the sheriff and like one of his press things was just like talking all this shit about the school systems. And I was just like, what? No.
Point the finger of blame anywhere else, right?
Yeah, I guess. Trying to find anybody to hold accountable.
Not me. It's them. It's that person. It's that one. It's that group.
Yeah. So one thing I do agree with is a statement provided by the state attorney. So this said, quote, "The 3 victims of this crime were mercilessly executed at close range and left to die by the defendants in this case. Motivated by greed, along with a complete disregard for the value of human life, the defendants in this case are responsible for the deaths of 3 human beings. These murders represent the most serious crimes in our judicial system and society and warrant the defendants be charged as adults and held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Our office is focused on bringing justice to the victims and the families of the victims of these terrible crimes." End quote. And I think that's very well stated.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Minus my mishap. I feel like I'm just going to put it out there that that's going to probably happen a lot today because I'm on like 2 hours of sleep. So bear with me. I'm again, apologize. But back to the night this whole thing unfolded. Okay, so according to Rob, he said after they were picked up, they went by Taj's house where he met Taj outside and they both got into Layla's car. All of the teens were heading to another area with the intentions to rob someone for their weed. So as the story goes, they first drove to Redacted before traveling to the forest to hopefully rob people. Something along the way, however, caused the teens to change their plans, and instead of robbing someone, they decided that they would go car hopping instead. And car hopping essentially is exactly what it sounds like. You basically just go around breaking into parked cars and stealing anything that is valuable, or I guess you can consider valuable. So apparently after deciding they were going to do this, instead, Rob confessed. Rob ended up confessing that Redacted victim was the one directing Layla on where to go to commit these robberies. And when it came time to turn into the neighborhood, apparently she ended up missing it. So she needed to make a U-turn and, obviously backtrack. So now the following details are from, again, the affidavit, and a lot, again, of what I'm working with is very minimal information. I literally just said majority of the affidavit was redacted, and it's basically what happened. So again, bear with me. According to Rob, while she was making the U-turn, Taj redacted, and then Rob started redacted, and then Rob said that seconds later, redacted, and then him and Taj exited the car and Chris followed. Rob stated that he shot the 16-year-old girl because she was still alive and he believed that she was going to snitch. And the last thing in the affidavit that is available to the public is a quote from Rob, and it reads, quote, "We was all going to jail for life," end quote. And then the rest, again, like I said, the rest of the document is completely redacted. It's like that reporter
guy.
That's
pretty great. Yeah. Just one blank page.
Yeah, just black line. So yeah, sorry. What were you going to say? I was going to say, what do you make of this?
That it's crazy that that's like the only line that wasn't redacted.
Yeah, like the whole thing, it was crazy. And to me, I didn't understand why certain things were redacted. Like the public's gonna know what victim's phone had pictures on it, once it goes into court. So I don't understand, why does that have to be redacted? Why can't you say like you found Layla's phone or you found Camille's phone? Like, why can't you?
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know.
I feel like some of the information they redact is like, I don't.
It's because they're all corrupt. They all know each other.
So now the police have these confessions, and within 48 hours of
if you get the reference,
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Well, sometimes I don't feel it's necessary to point out it's a reference. Like, if you can't tell you're referencing something, then
yeah. But there are plenty of times where you reference stuff, and then you tell me, I'm like, oh my god, yeah.
Oh well, I also will point out like you missed it.
Yeah, it's true.
Because I'm like, no response, really? I got nothing. So
yeah.
So, with the confessions and it being within 48 hours of the murders, the police have arrested 2 out of the 3 suspects. So they have arrested, as of this point, 12-year-old Chris and 17-year-old Rob. At the same time, they still have a major issue because the third suspect, 16-year-old Taj, is still essentially out there. In a desperation to find him and bring him in, a $10,000 reward for any information that led to Taj's arrest was being offered. And he was finally captured on April 8th, only 37 miles away in Groveland, which is pretty much a straight shot south of the Ocklawaha area. And reports state that he was taken in for outstanding warrants he had. So these warrants included carjacking, aggravated assault, grand theft, fleeing, or attempting to elude a law enforcement officer, and tampering with electronic monitoring device. So with all 3 suspects arrested and in custody, the authorities also felt it was necessary to release the boys' information, which they did receive a lot of backlash from, specifically from certain media outlets, I will say. And Sheriff Billy Woods, though, stood by this decision, and he believes that we as a society need to stop minimizing the actions of minors, especially when they are horrific. And I feel like I kind of agree.
Yeah.
I don't see what's the harm. Like, why should they be protected? I don't get at that point. What you did doesn't. I feel like that's when you gave up your right for protection.
You have zero care for all of it, so why should any care be given to you?
Yeah, why should you be given that grace or whatever,
Yeah, not care. I don't mean like that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Consideration.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So the sheriff's department also stood by the fact that Florida state law allows them to release the name, photo, or arrest report of any child who is taken into custody for violating a law that, if it were committed by an adult, would be considered a felony. Then their information in the eyes of this law is not considered confidential, and it does not have to be exempt from the public's knowledge. So again, I don't disagree with this. I feel like if you do something as heinous as commit murder, regardless of your age, I don't fully understand why that information is kept secret. I just don't. I mean, I can understand if it was a question of whether the person's actually guilty or not, but when you literally know, like red-handed, you're guilty.
Yeah, there's a difference there.
Like, it's one of those, like, when
being accused and being guilty are totally different.
Being wanted for questioning and being
wanted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So different. So 3 are being charged as adults, and Chris, 12, did end up taking, I said 3, so all 3 are being charged as adults, and Chris, who is 12, did end up taking a plea deal that involves him pleading guilty to murder, robbery with a firearm, and evidence tampering in the death of Layla. He's currently facing 40 years to life with parole after 25 years, and he will be testifying actually against Rob and Taj when they go to trial as a part of this plea deal. So Robert, who again is 17, and Taj, who again is 16, are also being accused of killing Layla, but who is 16, as well as Camille and Michael. So Camille was 16 and Michael was 17, just a reminder. And then Chris is only being charged with his involvement in Layla's murder. Because, again, plea deal.
Yeah.
So Rob is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of robbery with a firearm, and 1 count of evidence tampering. And Taj is being accused of 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of robbery with a firearm, carjacking with a firearm or weapon, grand theft of a motor vehicle, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill, and then tampering with evidence and with an electronic monitoring device. So
that's a lot of shit.
Yeah, so I think the difference in charges or what they are being accused of is clearly painting Taj as like the leader, or the aggressor of this.
That or he just they really wanted to fuck him.
Yeah, and I do have to play devil's advocate here and remind you that he was the third one to be captured, meaning they heard his version of events last. And by that time, the other 2 already had rolled over and incriminated him. So investigators can only know so much based off of the evidence. The rest is filled in by Chris and Rob's version. So who really knows how truthful their versions are? Who's to say that they didn't turn around and try to pin more on him?
Closes that case.
Right?
They're all corrupt and they all know each other.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like maybe they tried to make it look like he was more of a ringleader, but
behind everything and been like, "Yo, if we get taken, go."
Yeah, like you don't know who's the actual. They're all. I feel like at the same time they're all pretty much equal in it. That I think it's a little bit of bullshit to give.
Sounds like they're pretty much equals.
Well, it's a little bit of bullshit to give one a plea deal too. I don't why like it. I don't like. I feel like you should all be treated the same.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how plea deals work, though.
Right, I know. That's why, like, if you do, it's always like if you do something in a group, be the first
one
to
get caught. Usually, be the one with the plea deal.
Yeah, be the first one to talk because you get the best deal. Usually,
rat out as many people as possible, and you will get the best deal.
Yeah, but that's what my point is not that like none of them should have gotten a plea deal or why did you only get one. My point is that all 3 of them. Since there's really no proof of the intricacies of actually what went down and who was calling the shots, I feel like they should all just be treated the same.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they all had a hand in it. They all played a part.
It's not like they have people being like, I said, we're going to do this. And then this one said, I'll do this.
Yeah. Or there's no witnesses to say, I heard him say it and he was threatening them if they didn't do it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're all on the same playing field at that point. Like, you should all be treated exactly the same. So, I don't know. Maybe more will come out during the trial, which has not happened yet. So as far as sentencing and what the future holds for these 3 boys, the verdict is still out and we will not know anything further until after the trial begins, which as of now is set to start on July 28th of this year. So in a few weeks. And yeah, more to come on that. What I will end on is the statements released on behalf of Layla and Camille. Unfortunately, I do not have much on either, and basically I have nothing on Michael, which was the family's choice, and it was their decision, which I totally understand. There is, I'll get into it. There's a law and stuff that's pretty much what they put into like play to have little information released about their kids.
God, yeah.
So, again, yeah, like I'm like, if I had a loved one who was murdered, I wouldn't want their information out there. I probably would want it to be kept as humanly private as humanly possible. So really quick, actually, you know what? Let me just get into the law. So, Marcy's law, it protects the victim's information from media outlets. And, I just didn't know. Have you ever heard of anything like this?
No.
Okay. So a quick background, and this is all coming from the Marcy's Law website. So back in 1983, Marisol Lee Marcy Ann Nichols, is a beautiful, vibrant, University of California, Santa Barbara student. She was stalked and killed by her ex-boyfriend. And 1 week later, after her murder, her family were on their way home from her funeral, and they had stopped to grab a loaf of bread. And while in the checkout line, her mother, Marcella, was confronted by the man who murdered her daughter. It turned out he was released on bail just days after killing Marcy, and her family was never notified. At the time, though, the court
That is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is so atrocious.
I don't even know. Like, you would probably go white, like as if you just saw a ghost. Or like filled with rage. Your stomach's probably in your butt. Like, there's probably so many emotions all at once going on. So at the time, the court really didn't have an obligation to keep the family of the victims informed. And in the 80s, a victim and their surviving family, they didn't really have rights. Like, it wasn't a thing. So those, however, those who are accused of crimes, according to our Constitution, actually have 20 specific spelled out rights, which is crazy that they have more rights than the actual victim and the family. So what Marcy's law did was bring awareness to this lack of protection for victims and their families. It is a constitutional amendment that grants victims of crime and their families certain rights and protections in the criminal justice system, one of which is their right to privacy. So with Marcy's brother, Dr. Henry T. Nichols III, leading the charge, it would not have been passed in November of 2008 without him. And, he helped make Marcy's law the strongest and most comprehensive constitutional victims' rights law in the U.S., which put California actually at the forefront of the national victims' rights movement, which is pretty crazy. And this law was also opposed by almost every major newspaper in California. Shocker.
Wow, what a surprise.
Yeah, shitty media. But the people were like, no, and the bill was passed with 54% of Californians voting in its favor. Once passed, in California, other states kind of started following, and Marcy's law was passed in Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Nevada, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and Florida. So that's where today's story takes place, and that's why there's very little about the victims. So what I can share was that Layla, Camille, and Michael were all kids who had family and friends who loved them. They cared for them very deeply. Layla was the only one found still alive. Unfortunately, though, she was not responsive, and she was showing no brain activity, so her family decided to donate her organs so she would be able to help others in the wake of this tragedy. Her GoFundMe page said, quote, "She loved the game of softball, was a great pitcher, and could play any position her team needed. She uplifted all of her teammates. She has been taken from us too soon and will be greatly missed," end quote. Those who loved Camille described her as a very beautiful person. And as I wrap this up, I just wanted to say that regardless of lives, the lives of the three victims lived, they didn't deserve their lives to be cut so short in the manner that it was. So that everyone, oh my God, sorry. It's like I didn't put it in, but I feel like there were certain articles that were kind of talking shit about the kids. There was certain things mentioned about academics or life choices. And that's why I feel like this
too opinionated.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Who cares? These are teenagers and they didn't deserve to die in the fashion that they did by the hands of their own friends, essentially.
Yeah.
For missing for missing a turn. Let's not forget that. If that's the true story, this all transpired because she missed a turn. So, it's just unthinkable. It really is. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm I feel like that ending part, I wanted to leave it on that. But then I'm now I feel like I do kind of need to give it context because it's regardless of the lives they lived, because of reading stuff that was
people still don't deserve to get fucking clipped and shit.
Yeah, to me it was putting them in a negative light. It wasn't victim shaming, don't none of that. It wasn't, but it was still kind of speaking a little bit ill of them. And I'm when you don't know the person in death, you can't.
It came off more
you can't talk shit.
Whatever people died, whatever, get over it type thing?
No, it was just saying like, well, because it was even like how they just like dropped in the thing about the kids who did it are like, you know, affiliated with gangs, even though we don't have any proof, but they're affiliated with gangs. And then it's like, and then these kids are,
what does that mean? Anyway?
These kids are one's dropping out, this one's doing this one's doing, like, just kind of talking. I just felt like they were kind of talking negatively about them, like kind of making it seem like they were all a bunch of like ruffians or a
bunch of degenerates.
Yeah, exactly. Just miscreants running around town. Like, no wonder why this happened. Like something like that. Like, that's why I was like, regardless of anything or what they did in life, it doesn't change the fact that they lost their lives in a terrible way for no fucking reason other than missing of a turn.
Fucking horrible.
So, with that, everyone, that was the unthinkable murders of 16-year-old Layla Silvernail, 16-year-old Camille Quarles. Oh my God, I can't. I'm sorry. And 17-year-old Michael Hodo Jr. And now you know the deal. It is time for our shithead of the week. So, Adam, who do you have for us?
Yeah, it's actually road rage stuff too. So it's crazy that like a left turn. You know,
interesting.
Whatever. But anyways, yeah, rabbit holes of road rage is crazy. It's horrible. But this is a 44-year-old named Christina from Prospect Park, Pennsylvania.
Oh, PA.
Yeah. Road rage like never before, though. This is not like a normal road rage incident.
Okay. What year is this from?
This is recent. This is in the past like 2-3 months.
Oh, so 2025.
Yeah. So apparently, one driver cut off another driver, and next thing you know, the driver who got cut off was dropping their drawers and dropping a deuce on the hood of the fucking car. And yes, you've seen the video.
Wait, I was just gonna say, is that the chick who like splatter shitted all over the hood?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
All up over that hood.
I completely forgot about this video.
So she got charged with a bunch of stuff. Her court case is actually coming up this week. It's on the 9th. Is when they go back. But my favorite charge of all of them, you ready for this one?
Oh, God.
Depositing waste on the highway.
Wait, were they even on the highway though?
Well, I guess a roadway.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Okay. So gross. I completely forgot about that fucking video.
Locked and loaded in the chamber, ready to go.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
That's impressive.
How do you just like shit on command like that?
I have no idea.
Like there was no push, there was no effort. She literally was just like, boom. And then it was like a brown paintball, like hit the hood of the car.
Amazing.
How did they know where to find her? Because I'm like, didn't she leave before cops came to the scene?
Yeah, but I think in like the video you could see like a license plate or something.
Oh,
somebody probably, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. These days everything's on camera, so yeah. Okay, and these days even people drive around with their own dash camera, so
dash cams and shit.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Oh my God. Good times. Alrighty. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. And if you liked hanging out with us, let us know by following us on Spotify, Instagram, and or YouTube. If there is a case you would like us to cover, hit us up and let us know. But regardless, we will be back next week with another episode. So until then, make your dash count and please don't be a douche.
Stop with the road rage.
See ya.